What lay beneath the sweetness, the history of brown sugar in Amami. When people hear the word brown sugar, many may imagine a gentle sweetness or peaceful landscapes of southern islands. Brown sugar is used in cooking, spoken of as a healthy sweetener, and enjoyed as a souvenir. But in Amami, brown sugar carries a time that cannot be told by sweetness alone. This is not simply a story of suffering, nor is it only a history of victimhood. It is a record of people who continued to live between systems and nature. Today, using the records left in Amami as our guide, I would like to quietly trace the history that lay beneath the sweetness of brown sugar. Hello again. My name is Mayumi Kagura. I write and speak about Japanese culture, prayer, and the memories that remain between people and the land. This time, while traveling through Amami Oshima, a small island in the southern part of Japan, I would like to share what I learned from the Amami Museum. The perspective of primary sources. There is a book that records the history of Amami Oshima during the Edo period in remarkable detail. It was written in the late Edo era by a Satsuma domain official named S-Agent Nagoshi. The book is titled Nanto Zatsuwa, Miscellaneous Accounts of the Southern Islands. In this record, the plants and animals of Amami, clothing, food, and housing, daily life, religious practices, and even the realities of brown sugar policy are documented, along with colored illustrations. What makes this work important is that it is not a later interpretation, but a primary source, written in that era, from that position, rather than emotional judgment or criticism. It simply records what was. The land called Amami. Amami Oshima is an island surrounded by rich nature. There is the sea, mountains, wind, and rain. At the same time, it is a land strongly affected by typhoons. Crops do not grow consistently every year. Even so, people ate, lived, and welcomed each new season on this land. According to the records, Amami once grew crops such as rice and sweet potatoes for daily sustenance, from rice to sugarcane. However, during the Edo period, Amami came under the control of the Satsuma domain, and gradually, the island's crops were switched to sugarcane. This was not a choice made through agricultural innovation, nor was it a decision made by the people. It was a way of life, changed by policy. Rice and food crops were restricted, and a life devoted solely to growing sugarcane spread across the island. The sugar tax system. To compensate for financial hardship, the Satsuma domain forced the people of Amami to pay taxes in brown sugar. This system was called the sugar taxation system. Islanders were required to produce brown sugar from sugarcane and deliver it as tax. Brown sugar was designated as a monopoly of the Satsuma domain. Private use or trade among islanders was strictly prohibited. Records even note that Tasting the leftover pulp after pressing could result in punishment. Through this system, the Satsuma domain gained great wealth. On the other side of that prosperity, the islands of Amami lived through a long era of hardship, the era called Brown Sugar Hell. This period later came to be known as Brown Sugar Hell. People could not grow crops to feed themselves. They endured heavy labor solely to produce brown sugar. If production quotas were not met, severe punishment followed. In years when natural conditions were poor, no amount of effort could make up for it. Still, the system did not change how people lived. And yet, the people did not leave this land. What remains in the records is not heroic rebellion, but choices made to continue living. They prayed, worked, accepted the seasons, and welcomed the next year. This accumulation of time shaped the everyday life of Amami. Change and the Katiyu movement. With the arrival of the Meiji era in 1878, the people of Amami began the Katiyu movement. This movement sought the freedom to trade brown sugar. After a long period, the monopoly system finally came to an end. Seigo Takamori and Amami. In the 2018 historical drama, Segadon, the period when Seigo Takamori was exiled to Amami was depicted. In the drama, the islanders appear distant, even cold. But this may not have been unkindness. Living under a system known as brown sugar hell, people may have lacked the emotional space to engage with others. Seigo regained his strength on this island. And eventually, he left. What remained were the daily lives of those who could not leave. While walking the island, I saw signs marking the site where Seigo once lived. But this time, I did not go there. What I wanted to see was not the story of someone who left, but the time of those who remained. Amami and brown sugar today. Today in Amami, sugarcane is processed into brown sugar and brown sugar shochu, and remains an important industry. One evening, at the recommendation of a guide, I tried a glass of brown sugar shochu at my hotel. The sweetness was not strong or forward. Instead, a gentle, lingering sweetness remained. Closing. Once, brown sugar bound the lives of the people of this island. Now, it is something quietly savored. Brown sugar is not merely a sweet specialty. Within it remains the time of people who continue to live on this land, even while being shaped by systems. Walking through Amami, one feels that it is neither quite Japan nor quite Okinawa. This island has long been placed on the boundary of history. Because of this, the people of Amami do not close the distance quickly. They watch carefully, with quiet caution. But when trust is built over time, they become very good friends. Looking at the history of Amami, we can see a structure in which the prosperity of the center was supported by the sacrifice of peripheral lands and people. This is not only a story of the past. Today, through records. I have quietly placed before you what lay beneath the sweetness.